All right, there we go. They are now in here. All right, good afternoon. I just want to welcome everyone to our weekly Wednesday presentation on funeral pre-planning. This presentation is being recorded and will be uploaded on the Otsego County Office for the Aging in New York Connects Facebook pages, as well as our county website. I ask that everyone keep your videos turned off and that you remain muted. If you have questions, please type them into the chat or raise your hand and we will get those answered for you. My name is Alicia Chase. I'm Otsego County's long-term care coordinator. I manage the New York Connects program as well as the Medicaid in-home service personal care programs here. New York Connects is the connection to all long-term services and supports. And while we are located under the Office for the Aging umbrella, we are unique in that we are able to help anyone of any age who is looking for help navigating the long-term care system. We can help friends, families, caregivers, and clients who are of any age, birth to death. We can assist with information and assistance, referrals, and application assistance, as well as many other things. If you are unsure or have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. In the chat, you will find my business card. And at this time, I'm going to turn this program over to Tanya Williams. She is with the funeral director for Lookout and Grumman's Funeral Homes. And it's now all yours, Tanya.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. I was just thinking I would start off with going through some information about myself, just to introduce who I am. I've worked in funeral homes in New York State since 1994 and been licensed and working full-time since 1998. So within that background, I have over 20 years on the at-need side, which is helping families as the death occurs when things happen and they need assistance. And then I have 3 years experience exclusively doing pre-plan. So I've been able to help lots of families with setting things up. Families call in sometimes and say they need to set it up because the death is either imminent or they're going through the process for a Medicaid spend down or getting ready to go into a nursing home and trying to get themselves and their family prepared. Families, you can either look at it as the best worst gift you can give or the worst best gift you can give. It's a topic that no one wants to talk about. We're very sensitive to that, and everything we do is confidential and private. Our goal is to help and make this as comfortable and as educational process as we can make it. So with that being said, I do have a presentation here that I do have with our most of our families and presentations that we do. We start off with explaining the process and learning what we can do and how to have the conversation. That is a difficult conversation to have you share with your families and explain to them the process. Some families and kids and grandkids are open to you doing this. Some urge you to do it and some don't want to hear about it. So we're here to help with either whatever type of situation you have in your family. It is important to talk about it, even though it is a difficult process. A lot of families will come in and say they've never thought about it. They don't know what to do. Some people go to the cemetery, buy the plots, and tell the kids it's all set. So we have many families that we work with, and we're trying to just get the information out there, educating them on the process and how to make it as smooth for them as we can. So one of the things we like to talk about to let you know is we do plan for most other life events in our families, from weddings to paying for car insurance to planning for retirement, and little things come up along the way that maybe we haven't planned for, such as divorce, death, loss of job, or things of that nature. So we want to help with the most difficult thing that happens in your family and in your life, and that would be the loss of a loved one. So we've broken it down into 4 steps at the funeral home. We try to make it as easy as we can and have you reflect on what type of scenario you'd like to set up for, whether it be a burial or a cremation. And that's the first start that we start with, just reflecting on that. The second would be recording. So recording your information is also important to let you know how you can start putting the information down and get it started. So that's important to get the contract going, get things on file, and kind of know the process of what you're starting to do. The third one would be to secure the paperwork and start a contract and get things down and get it started. We do offer many payment plans, and we do offer multiple types of contracts. in New York State, there's 2 contracts that we can do. The first one being revocable and the second one being irrevocable. So I can get into the differences between those once we get through this slide here. And then the 4th process is just to share. So to share with your family and let them know that you have taken the time to do this. So in case something does happen, whether you're traveling or out of town or the kids don't want this information, it's good to let them know that you've done it. They may not be ready to hear about it now, and they may not want details or particulars on it, but just letting them know that you do have it in place is an important part of what we do. So reflection has been one that has been easy for folks because we've been doing things from home. And people have that conversation with their spouse or their loved one and let them know what they're looking for. So that's part of the first most important step. And then recording, like I said, is just putting the information on file. There are some other informations that I can share that we would need information for the death certificate and doing that. So I will put that up on the screen at this time. And then you will see what we have.
At the bottom, you just click share screen and it'll tell you to stop sharing my screen.
Okay. Oops.
And then it will allow you to share your screen.
Okay. Can you see it now?
Nope. Did you pick a screen?
I did.
And then at the bottom, hit share.
I tried.
Technical difficulties.
Let me just. Okay. No, it's not letting me. That's all right. I can just go through and speak to what we had here. So I actually have some handouts anyhow. If you can you see on the screen? Is that better, Alicia?
I can see them.
Okay. So this is our first handout that we give when we're working with people, and we've been sending them by email to folks that have questions that are thinking about starting the process. This actually starts with the information that we need for vital records. So this would be information that would someday be seen on the death certificate that is required to start the pre-planning process. So information like your social security number, your name, your place of birth, your parents' names, what you did for your life's work, if you were a veteran. The reason we ask the social security number, I know you're not supposed to share them and that's a very sensitive information to give out, but we do need them in order to start an account. So if an account is started, that's how it's tracked and put through the system. That's also with the Medicaid information. So the nursing home has it. And at the end, when something does happen, that number would be seen on the death certificate. So that would also go right to Social Security Administration and that take your number right out of the system instantly. So that's important too. And it's another benefit for your family to have. Then once we go through all that information, the next step would be to talk about the type of services. And at our funeral home at Bookout and Grumman's, we do offer the pre-planning guides. The pre-planning guides are a helpful tool, and we have digital ones as well that you can certainly reach out and we can get them to you. And most families are asking for them online today anyhow. But it's a guide that walks you through the cremation and burial process and the questions that you would need to have answered on what is important to do. So that's a great tool to get you started. And as we flip through, it even goes through information that I always find is interesting, like the online profiles. A lot of people are paying their bills online today, especially now more than ever with everyone being home. So, you know, to write your account number and your email address down and your username and your password. If something were to happen to you today and you didn't have this written down somewhere, or, you know, how would your family be able to get in and get those things handled? So that's a really important thing that we don't necessarily think about or plan for. That is something that we should do. We also have a veterans planning guide, which is here for our veterans that have done, you know, served our country and protected us. We have something special for them, which goes through the benefits that they are eligible for, such as the veterans plaque, how we obtain the military, the flag that they are entitled to, and the information on the markers. So this is a pretty comprehensive book on what benefits are there too for the veterans. So those are the tools that we work with. So once we do that, then we typically start talking the process of cremation versus burial. And we have general price lists that should be given to any family that works with any funeral home, actually in New York. And that would go through our price list. Each funeral home has their own price list. And everybody charges different prices, and that's just set at the location. And then we can total up a cost once we know the services you're looking for and decide what the total amount was. At the end of that, we do actually work with Pre-Plan up in Albany. And this, I would say, is used by most funeral homes in New York State, but there are other planning funding agents out there that they could use. So Pre-Plan would be the folks that we would send the contracts to. So once we know what type of contract, revocable or irrevocable, then we would be able to start the paperwork and get things going for you. The difference between the two is if you're private pay and you're at home and you're doing a contract to start, you would mostly go revocable, typically. I have mine that I set up years ago, and mine's revocable, and it still is revocable. If I were to go into a nursing home, one of the first questions we've heard families say, of course, is they'll ask if you have a Pre-Plan account, and if you do, is it revocable or irrevocable? After they go through the finances and insurance takes place and all that, they may make you set it up for irrevocable if you've gone through the Medicaid spend down process. So usually going from here to here is no change, nothing different. It's just two signatures here, just changing the account so that it's irrevocable. The most important thing for consumers to know about the difference of the two is revocable. We are at our funeral homes, we guarantee our charges. So if we have extra money left over and it's a revocable account, any extra, once everything is paid, would go back to the family. If it's irrevocable when you pass away, again, with the charges that we guarantee, we would send any extra money that is above and beyond what the charges are, we have to send back to the county. So that's just a way for them to kind of recoup the expenses that they've been putting out for the nursing home care, medication, and things of that nature. So that's important to know the difference between the two. So once that is done and we have a contract, then we send the paperwork up to Pre-Plan. They process it, and then we keep a copy on file at the funeral home. You keep a copy, and then I also offer to email or make regular photocopies for your family members. Once we do that, like I said, they may not want it, but they may be happy at the time that they have it. So some of the benefits to pre-arranging are, your thoughts are down there, and the kids know what they want, especially if they don't want to hear what you are talking about at the time. And also the money. If you set the money aside and start it even with a deposit and then make monthly payments, or you can do yearly payments, whatever fits your budget, then the kids don't have to worry or make those payments later on your behalf. So we've learned that if we don't accept the insurance policies for payments, we have had some issues, and there's HIPAA rules and things that are making things a little more difficult. So we work with the funded funerals on that. If a family does have insurance at our funeral home, we do ask that they process that and then make us the payment and let the insurance reimburse them. So that's a bit of a change from what we've learned years ago on just the insurance will pay for the funeral. That's kind of changed too. So that's something that makes the prearranged accounts even more beneficial. So other than that, some benefits that are important when you're setting up a funeral account, in my opinion, would be to ask if the funds are guaranteed. That's an important part of it. Also, the process with the cremation has changed significantly too. We offer an identification to every family so that they come in, they can see their loved one, and it's their choice to either see them or not. And that's kind of also comforting to know that, you saw your loved one at the nursing home, or maybe you couldn't, but now you'll get to see them at the funeral home. And there's nothing extra for that. There's no embalming that's needed. It's just an identification, and then they can have a few minutes to finally say goodbye. So that's important too. With cremation, there's a ton of options. You can do the viewing, you can not do the viewing. Even with burials, you don't necessarily have to see the folks if you don't want to. So there are a lot of options, and we are doing the best around the state, I know, to make provisions for the different stages and states of where we are with the COVID situation, and that does change, but we're doing the best we can, and we've learned a lot of different ways to set up the accounts and do that for folks so they know what to do. So any questions in the chat box that you see, Alicia?
No questions yet, but if anyone has any questions, there's a raise your hand button, or you can type them into the chat and Tanya will answer them.
Okay. So other than that, that's just a very brief generalized overview of what we do with the pre-arranging at the funeral home, the different options that we do. I feel it's an important thing to do. We always like to capture the 5 L's when we do them, you know, capturing how the person lived, what made them laugh, who did they love, what did you learn about them, and what's their legacy. So kind of think about those questions on your own and what you're trying to leave for your kids. And no one wants to leave people with a financial burden, especially, but it's a good thing to do, and it's important. So just let me know if anyone, Alicia, do you have anything that you'd like to ask or add, or?
No, we do have a question now. Is there a link or address to find the digital files that you mentioned?
If you send Alicia the email, I can forward them to her, or so she can forward them out if you'd like, or you can email me directly to my email. And
I did put your email in the chat here.
Okay, that would be great. And then you can either way, whatever you're more comfortable doing. We send them out. You don't have, it doesn't obligate you to anything. There's no charge for them. So we could do that. A lot of people have been getting them and emailing them to them, and then they've been calling me or doing the Zoom presentations, and then actually signing online through DocuSign with email. DocuSign has been something and it's been very helpful to get a lot of folks set up with these accounts during these difficult times.
If you're calling in on the phone, if it's easier for you to unmute yourself if you have a question, you can go ahead and do that. Are there any other questions? And again, this presentation will be uploaded to the Office for the Aging Facebook page. It will be turned into a YouTube video, so that's how we get the link for it. We also will be putting these into a library on the Otsego County Office for the Aging website in the near future. If anybody would like these documents and you don't want to email Tanya directly, you can email me and I will get the information from Tanya. Her email is in the chat box here, tanya.williams@dignitymemorial.com. All right, and there are no other questions in the chat box.
Okay, well, great. Thank you. I appreciate everyone listening. And if there's any other questions, just get a hold of me or Alicia, and we should be able to help out with anything that you should need.
And the phone number to Otsego County Office for the Aging where you can reach me if you're calling in by phone is 547-543-8255. 4232. Have a great afternoon, everybody.
Thanks.